and Facebook and YouTube. So I hope you're joining me this evening. If you are on either of those platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, feel free to jump in, like, comment, ask questions. This is our weekly Q&A, just an update on key things that are going on for Focus of Growth and for me, and to kind of share some of the client priorities that I'm working on with my kind of key clients at the moment as well. So here we go. I'm delighted to say that the Association of Professional Sales have been in touch, and I'm running a workshop with them, or a webinar for them, on the 30th of March at 9 a.m. GMT, UK time. So I'll be running an event where we talk about mastering remote selling. This is an ongoing priority area for many of my clients, and so many people still finding this such a difficult area. And some great news over the last week about the reintroduction of normal working and life as we go into the rest of this year. But we've still got a bit of a road ahead of us to travel. So if you're interested in that, it's not a members only event. So Association of Professional Sales event. It's a 45-minute webinar or workshop on the 30th of March. So if you'd like to join that, please do feel free to contact me, or I'll be sharing some posts on that on my socials in the next few days or so. So you'll be able to access that. Really good, really interesting. And if you haven't had anything to do with the APS, the Association of Professional Sales, they're a great organisation. So providing quite a lot of structured information, programs, insights for their members and their members' organisations. So really delighted to have been invited to go and speak with them. So that's APS. I've also been recording a specific webinar on the top 12 principles of remote selling and influencing. This is, I guess, a series of principles that I've been working on over the last 12 months with my clients. Excuse me. And I've got these now not only in a document, but recorded as a series of principles in a video content. So there's a webinar coming that I will be sharing with people on the platform. So if you'd like to know more about that, just reach out to me, drop me a note, or comment on this post, and I'll happily send you some details, which is good. So a remote selling webinar coming soon, and it will become hopefully something that you can layer into your sales approach. If you're using a sales process, as long as you've got a structured sales process, you know the way in which you're engaging with clients, this is going to really complement that process incredibly well. And if you've been lucky enough to get yourself a copy of the book, Inspire, Influence, Sell, you will be able to recognize a lot of the models that are really kind of in sync, if you like, with the models that I'll be sharing on the webinar. The top 12 principles really complement the book and the models in the book. So hopefully that's going to be useful for a lot of people. It's going to be a free webinar. I'll be putting that content out there just to try and help as many sales professionals and sales leaders as we can. That's good. Business Book Awards 2021. I'm absolutely delighted to be an entrant in the Business Book Awards for 2021 in the sales and business category. I believe that over the next month, there'll be a judging process that the organisation is going through, and then there'll be an announcement at the end of March. So fingers crossed. There's nothing we can do to influence it now. The book's written, it's in with the judges, so I don't need you to vote or anything. It's just an insight. I continue to get incredible feedback on Inspire, Influence, Sell, the book, and had just yesterday an incredible piece of feedback from someone in my network, really good guy, Adam Tarbox. And Adam was kind of sharing some of the insights that he really enjoyed about the book, which I'm ever so grateful for. Adam also gave me a couple of pointers around some additions that might be useful. So that was really valuable. As and when the next revision or revised version comes out, I shall be incorporating some of those insights. So thank you, Adam. That's great news about the book. So thanks to everyone so far for your support for the book. It just continues to grow. If your organization would be interested in talking about the book or having a talk on the content of the book, do let me know. I'm doing that for quite a few of my clients at the moment. If you'd like your organization to have copies of the book, again, reach out to me, because there's lots of opportunity to do that. I've recently had a client that wanted all of their European sales organization to have copies. So we organized for them to receive them centrally. It's really good. So that is the book and the Business Book Awards. So yeah, really, I'm quite excited about that. If you're online, do feel free to hit me up if you've got a comment or if you've got a question. I know last week when I was online on Facebook, I was not able to post messages, and I'm not sure why. It looks like my Facebook personal profile might not be processing messages. So if you were on Facebook and I'm not responding, I apologize for that. It looks like there's a disconnect between Restream, my streaming platform, and Facebook. I thought I fixed it last week. I'm not sure I have. So I'll have to go back in afterwards and check the connections. So it feels a bit like I'm talking to myself, but I'm used to that. It's the ongoing commentary in my head. Happens all the time. So the other thing I wanted to mention, if you haven't had the chance yet to check out the Sales Acceleration Scorecard, I would encourage you to have a look at it. It's been getting some amazing feedback. We're well over 100 people have gone through it now. And effectively, it's 46 statements that you rank yourself against. And then as you go through that, it takes about, the average time to complete is about 11 minutes. So it's just over 10 minutes of your time. And once you've gone through it, it will then generate a score at the end, in an overall score, and then 5 key areas in which it's useful for you to assess yourself, and then it points you towards resources that you can start to pick up that will help with your development. It talks about specific areas in the book that you could reference. It talks about different modules on the Sales Mastery Program, and so it's a really useful series of assessment statements, but a really useful professional development tool that's going to help you inform yourself and your organization about where you should be focusing your development efforts. So check it out. I'll put a link in this post, but it is the Sales Acceleration Scorecard on ScoreApp. So I'll put a link in the comments of this post just so that you've got access to these resources. I'll link in the APS event. I'll link in the webinar when it's coming. Big Business Book Awards, you'll have seen that, but I'll link in the Sales Scorecard as well. So the other thing that's been really valuable actually is just to kind of go links to the scorecard and to the book is to just peel things back fundamentally in terms of performance. So most of us will know that, as we start to embark on development programs or personal development, there are 3 areas that I always kind of refer back to and become a bit of a go-to for my clients. And you'll have heard me talk about it potentially if you've seen me live before or if we've worked together as clients. But those 3 areas are, the first one is psychology, so getting the psychology layer in place, mindset, and really thinking about how you perceive the world, how you perceive yourself in it, what you believe is possible for you. And really tapping into that identity. What's the identity we have for ourselves? And does that get in the way of us being able to perform? And I've seen that so many times. I've experienced it in the past myself and really had to work hard to make some transitions and shifts. But it can be so difficult for us to even recognize it at times. And then when we recognize it, to be able to overcome it. So I kind of start there because it's so important. Now, if you are interested, the Mindset Program, which is a free program by me and by Focus for Growth, I'll drop the link in here to that afterwards. The Mindset Program takes you through 12 modules where you can just go back to some of the fundamentals of how our mind works, how we process information, how we can start to expand our thinking and move from a fixed to a growth mindset. But then also share some insights that are really valuable around just perspective shifts. How could we look at situations differently? How can we start to direct the focus of our mind so that it empowers us and supports our development rather than disempowers us and can hinder our development? It's really, really fundamental principles that underpin performance. So psychology layer first. The next area then, once you believe you can succeed, once you've got this growth mindset, once you're prepared to push yourself a little bit further outside of your comfort zone, Then it's about developing the right skills that we need to succeed, either in business or sales or whatever field you're in. Most of the clients I'm working with are business or sales. And then it is about the skills. So what are the key skills that we need to develop to enable us to perform? So the mindset is right. Then it's about skill development. And that is a bit like building muscle. We have to practice some of the key new skills that we want to develop, and practice and practice and practice until they become automatic. And it takes a little while for that automation to kick in. We have to go through 4 stages of competency and consciousness, which I won't necessarily talk about now, but maybe I'll point you to another video I did on this in the past. And this is about us moving from, not even being aware that something's a gap for us, through to intentionally starting to work on it, right there through to doing so often that we become automatic. The skills are really important to develop as well. So psychology first, then skills. And then finally, when we have those first 2 layers in place, that's when we can start to systemize. So we put in place structure, process, systems, practices that we know are going to enable us to perform and deliver along almost like a roadmap to performance. But without the psychology and the skills, the roadmap is pretty useless. So we have to go through the different layers in the right order. So always think that psychology is my mindset primed and ready and where it needs to be. Skills, am I able to do the right things with the right level of capability? And then am I able to systemize? Have I got the right structure? Am I doing the right things in the right order? Am I following a process that I know is going to deliver the results for me time and time again? So obvious as that sounds, it's not one of those things that a lot of people and businesses are totally focused on. It only really started to become completely clear for me as I was writing the book, as I was building out my own programs and thinking, actually, there's more to this than just delivering a program. We've got to get the 3 layers right. So I'll share that with you because it's a continual reminder for me. It's been useful for me, useful for my clients, and useful for people that I work with, because it really helps them to kind of unlock that next level of performance. Then I'm going to share a couple of principles with you that I keep revisiting right now. That will be really valuable for you. And then we're going to wrap up because I'm not going to be on for too long today. I've got a 6 o'clock meeting tonight. So first of all, one of the things that is really useful to cover is if we're selling to our customers right now, reaching out to people, getting engagement, getting that true connection, and then being able to follow that through from the customer's perspective, making sure the customer feels really connected and engaged with us. That's one of the biggest challenges most people are facing right now. How do I get the customer engaged in the first place? And it's a really simple principle that I've, adopted and am teaching customers right now, clients right now, is this move from putting the customer first to putting the customer only. So moving from, it's not just the customer should be first in my mind, it's that in that initial engagement and throughout those series of conversations, I've got to completely reorientate myself to only think about the customer's perspective. Because it's only in doing that I can really put messages into the customer, ask questions of the customer, and start to join things up between me and the customer in a way that is truly meaningful for them. And this is such an obvious principle and perspective, but we so often forget it. So I share this with you just as a reminder of what you already know, but something that will be incredibly valuable for you if you've been forgetting to do it. And especially if you've been reaching out to customers and it's not really landed or you're not getting the engagement, just park what you've been doing for a moment and stop and ask yourself, am I positioning things? Am I connecting the customers with an intent that is only focused on what's valuable for them? And then start to re-engineer all your language, all your engagement messaging, any questions, anything towards only delivering what the customer needs. And as soon as you start to do that, it changes everything. There's a shift There's a shift in your thinking, there's a shift in your messaging, there's a shift in the customer, there's a shift in everything. So that first fundamental principle is so important when we're engaging with customers. Now, I would also liken that to leadership. When you're in a leadership position, if you're struggling to get your team to perform or to follow through and work on things in a way that you would like them to, it's very often, my experience, because I'm coming at it from my perspective as a manager or a leader. And so I'm asking the person to perform on my terms. And just that shift in perspective again, thinking, okay, actually what's going on for this member of my team? How do I need to communicate so that they buy in and it becomes their priority, not my priority offloaded? That can be really powerful as well. Just the shift in thinking, stop thinking about ourselves, start thinking about the other person. Really, really powerful. Obvious, but not always obvious in practice. Excuse me, I had a sneeze. And then the final point before I finish is about, so we talked about customer only perspective, and we talked about from a leader thinking about your team. The second principle with not only engagement but performance is to think about reasons why. So if we're going to see, thank you, Leah. Right, okay, Leah, appreciate your comment on Facebook. It is connected. I thought it wasn't, but it is. Thank you, Leah. Great to see you. And to think about, we've got the customer only perspective, also to think about this reason why. Every time we ask a customer to meet with us or a customer to engage with us, we should be continually thinking, what is it that the customer is going to benefit or going to get from that engagement, that interaction? And that should become almost a continual question we ask for ourselves. What's in it for the customer? Whether that's a first meeting, a follow-up meeting, a review meeting, whatever it is, we should always be looking for value for the customer and know the really strong reason why the customer should attend. And thinking about the customer's perspective only and then why they should attend really helps us to hone in and center in on a key message for them. So if you haven't had the chance to think about that, if you've perhaps got into more natural habits, which is to think about ourselves, because when you think about selling, can feel unnatural because we've got to completely remove ourselves and start thinking completely from the other person's perspective. So there's a high empathy threshold required for selling and influencing. But we have to keep thinking about the other person, thinking about the reason why for them. So start making your reasons why really compelling. And one of the really simple exercises you can do is just almost create 5 to 10 minutes for yourself and think, right, if I was my customer and I had to feel this sense of real value and real urgency to want to meet with me, what would I be expecting? What would have to happen? What would have to happen for me to be really, really committed to meeting me? And just that thought, I have to be confident that I was going to get, that my time was really well spent. I have to be confident that it was, an enjoyable interaction. I have to be confident that I was going to get some results from it. I'd have to be comfortable, whatever that list of things is. But start to map that out, because once you've kind of reoriented yourself to your customer's perspective, thought about what's in it for them, documented it, and really gone through that, it's a really powerful exercise because it does a number of things for you, as well as changing your messaging. It builds your confidence because you start to believe from your customer's perspective why they should spend time with you. And that gives you confidence, gives the customer confidence. And a lot of that then is transmitted just through the conversation and the communication that you have with them. So I would say, think about those two principles when you're reaching out to customers. Customer only in the first instance, and the reason why they'll spend time with you. Now, this is also important from a leadership perspective. If you are asking your team members to do things for you and you're trying to inspire them to work as effectively as possible at the moment, it's tough. The environment's tough. Being at home and working from home is tough. one of the things that we have to do is keep tapping into why your people do the work they do. So you're asking your customers why they should spend time with you. As a leader, we have to keep tapping into our team's motivation. Why do they do the work they do? Why is it important that they succeed? Why should they give it their best efforts? Why should they be productive? Why should they want to be effective? And just start to tease that out in conversations with your team members. So don't take people for granted. Don't take situations for granted. Start to really unearth the motivation in your people. And when you kind of almost take a step back to do this, or take a step out of the functional transactional conversations, either as a salesperson with clients or as a leader with a team, and you just reframe the perspective, get closer to the understanding of why it's important that they perform, and everything shifts. You will notice it almost in a one or two conversations or one or two interactions. The dynamic of the relationship starts to shift, but it starts with you. As a leader or as a sales professional, it starts with you. We have to be the ones to make that shift, that transition, because either our customers or our team members won't do it for themselves. We are, the catalyst for that change in perspective. So I hope that's useful for you. I've run many workshops with lots of different customers, and these are the things that are really front and center at the moment. They are almost a return to some of the fundamentals that we know work, but we often overlook, not for any reason other than we've just kind of got stuck in the day-to-day. We lose focus on what is important and what works. So I hope that's useful for you. I'm going to sign off now because, as I say, I've got a 6 o'clock mastermind meeting this evening. So I am only on for a short period. Thank you, Leah, on Facebook for your engagement and your round of applause. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who will be watching the replay. So if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay on here. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I will be back next week for our live at 5 on Thursday. In the meantime, have a wonderful finish to your week. Have a great weekend when you get there. And I will see you, if I don't see you in person, I will see you live at 5 next Thursday. Take care, everyone. See you soon.